Today, I ventured into the middle of nowhere once again. To get there, I took a train line called the Nishikigawa Seiryu Line. It runs alongside one of the cleanest rivers in all of Japan. However, it's cash only. The station itself is very small, and it runs like once every 3 hours. Plus, you have to transfer to the station itself from within a JR station, which makes the whole thing kind of a mess. Today, I rode the train to its last stop, Nishikicho. Nishikicho is a remote mountain village that ran independently for thousands of years until early 2000s merger into the town of Iwakuni. These city mergers were pretty common in Japan after modernization, but it still does suck to see a town with thousands of years of history just kind of being assimilated into another town. The area is known for its incredibly dense forests, the crystal clear waters of the river, its deep, imposing mountain valleys, and sake production. Because what else is there to do when you're in the middle of nowhere? It's so in the middle of nowhere that pretty much the only lifeline to Nishikicho town is the rail line. There are roads which you can access it by, but they're pretty windy and mountainous. Like many Asian towns in Japan, it is dealing with the struggles of population decline, but the locals are doing their very hardest to revitalize the town. Compared to the Yamaguchi along the Shinto inland sea that I'm familiar with, Nishikicho felt like an entirely different world. And indeed, historically, the region belonged to the Yamashiro region, which was governed entirely separately from the rest of Yamaguchi. And because Nishikicho is just so isolated, it preserved a lot of customs and traditions that the surrounding regions have long since forgotten. Also, frankly speaking, I was having a pretty bad day while filming this, so going to the middle of nowhere was like the best possible thing for my state of mind. I enjoyed it a lot. I started my journey at Iwakuni Station. Now, Iwakuni Station was surprisingly hard to enter because you can't use IC cards in this line, so I bought a paper ticket. But the paper ticket I bought was for the JR portion of this line because there are JR portions and non-JR portions. So after entering with my old-fashioned paper ticket for the JR portion of the line, after boarding the train, they told me I had to pay once again for the JR portion and the non-JR portion. So I'm not really sure what I did wrong and why I'm having to double pay for it, but I made it work, I guess. That aside, the train that takes you to Nishikicho itself is a tiny one-car train staffed by an operator. I watched it crawl up the tracks, let people out, and then let me on. The train passed through Iwakuni City for what felt like a brief moment, and then gradually the large buildings faded, were replaced by houses, and eventually, we were in the middle of nowhere. The train line itself is built on an elevated hill, which gives the whole ride a really pretty panoramic view of the scenery around it. That is, if you're on the right side of the train. If you're on the wrong side of the train, you will be looking at the side of a mountain for the entire ride. And I am not joking here. Please, I beg of you, if you are going to Nishikicho, sit on the right side. If you're coming back, sit on the left, because otherwise, there is nothing to see, and you have spent all this money to ride this very fancy train for nothing. I say all this money, it was like $10, but that's pretty expensive for like a 1 hour train ride. Especially considering I didn't even leave city limits, like that is decently expensive. All the other times I pay like $10 on the JR, I'm going to a different city, It's cost the same amount for me to get from Iwakuni City to Nishikicho, which is still in Iwakuni City, as it does for me to get from Iwakuni to Hiroshima, which is an entirely different prefecture. So, yeah. There's like some waterfalls interspaced on the mountainside of the tracks, but there's like 3 of them the whole train ride, and I do not think it's worth it to sit on that side. I'm gonna be so real with you. I purposely didn't research a whole bunch before this trip because I wanted to let myself be surprised with what I was getting into, and I was not disappointed. Like, the river was stunning. Words cannot articulate how stunning it was. The river was actually like blue, like crystal clear, perfect blue. You could see every single rock as you passed by. On my way back, I saw a giant fish I did not capture on camera. It was stunning, like absolutely stunning. The train weaved in and out of the mountains, passing through various different tunnels. We could see all these old lovely houses, farming grounds, this really pretty door to the middle of nowhere filled with flowers. It was amazing, especially if you're a train lover like me. My only regret is that I didn't do this in autumn, because apparently it's even more stunning in autumn with all the fall foliage. Anyways, after a long train ride, I finally arrived at Nishikicho. The station building itself is pretty small. I didn't manage to get footage of it because I was so excited to just go, but it's a tiny building. There is a toilet, but no vending machine, and you have to pay for the tickets with cash. As soon as I got off at the station, the smell of the inaka hit me. Like, it's kind of hard to describe, but you know when it's about to rain and you have that like amazing like pre-rain smell? For me, the inaka kind of smells similar. It just smells like fresh nature and it's lovely. I was so excited. I crossed this bridge over this giant river. I walked through a whole bunch of rice paddies to get to the restaurant I made a reservation at. While I was there, I was just surprised at how much clear flowing water there was in the town. Like, it ran through drain pipes, and it was stunning. Like, absolutely stunning. Like, I knew this place was very famous for sake production, and historically, in order to make good sake, you need to have really good water. And oh boy, this place did not disappoint. I don't think it showed up on camera, but I just sat next to the river for about an hour, and as soon as that sunlight hit the water just right, you could see schools of fish. It was stunning. Like, I wonder if this is what the countryside was like 100 years ago before people fucked it all up, you know? The restaurant I went to was a homestyle mountain cooking restaurant that specializes in tempura, and it was amazing and lovely. Normally when you get veggie tempura, it's like the typical like pumpkin, asparagus, like that's about it. That's all I remember. I don't eat veggie tempura very much, but the tempura they give us here were specifically fresh, like harvested on that day leaves that they had grown in their garden. And while eating an entire meal of leaves doesn't sound like the most appetizing thing in the world, it was very, very good. All the side dishes were amazing, and instead of rice, I ended up getting like old style vinegared rice, like in the form of a sushi block. It was very good. And because it was kind of slow that day, they gave me free coffee on the house, and also this like plum medicinal syrup for my stomach. They were lovely people. You should definitely go if you can. I've put the link there. Next, the main reason I want to come to this town is because there's an abandoned amusement park. And it is just as creepy as it sounds. I did manage to go exploring for myself and find a lot of weird, creepy oddities, but unfortunately, I went in April, and in April is when the bamboo starts to grow. So a lot of the rides and like actual attractions that you were theoretically able to reach last year were covered up by like all these giant stalks of bamboo growing. And there was wild boars in the area, and I ended up seeing one, and I was like, I'm not gonna risk that. For anyone who doesn't know what a wild boar is, think like a pig that kind of wants to kill you. Like, it doesn't sound scary until you're faced with like this 2-ton hairy thing with tusks, and you're like, oh shit, that actually is kind of scary. Especially when they're having babies, which is also right around in April. Just wasn't worth it for me. But the part of the abandoned park that I did see was really, really cool. The park did shut down just because of economic reasons, and it was just kind of left untouched and turned into a public park. So you are free to wander in it. Like, I wasn't trespassing, I wasn't breaking any rules. It's just open to everyone. But it's empty. It's so empty. There's no one there besides me, and all of these mascot characters look so happy as the paint slowly fades from their faces. I think they renovated some of it to turn it into like an old person recreation home, and that is just as creepy as you expect because they left the mascots there. It was a really cool experience, and I don't think I've ever had anything like it. It was neat. However, I did have to like grapple with the fear that a boar was going to come and impale me alive the whole time. So that was fun. After exploring the abandoned theme park, I was faced with a dilemma. I could either spend 3 extra hours in Nishikicho and not get home until around 8 p.m, or I could cut the trip a little bit early. So I didn't get to go to the sake brewery. I was kind of sad because it is cool and it's like a free tour, but oh well, I can go next time. There's a really cool looking pizza place that's run by a Turkish guy that I really want to go to. So I'll be sure to come again in the fall and take nice pictures, don't worry. With the little bit of time I had left, I went to the shrine. Now the shrine is 1,300 years old. It is ancient. It has so much history, and yet currently it is so empty. Like, I really wanted to get a goshun, which is a shrine stamp, because I collect them. It said they were available online, and I went there, and there was just nothing. Like, normally the places you can buy omikuji, you can buy them right underneath the main shrine building. There was a box, but it was empty. It said if I wanted anything, I would have to go inside the main worship hall, but that was locked and closed, and I was just kind of sad because I tried, but there was nothing. But on the plus side, there was some really cool old paintings from like the pre-war period that were just still hanging in the main hall of the shrine, which was pretty cool to witness. There was also hundreds, maybe thousands of mosquitoes swarming me because I was probably the only human standing there for like a kilometer or so, and they were like laser focused on me. So my arm was also very itchy. Like a lot of other shrines, this shrine has an auxiliary shrine on it. So there was an inari shrine, which is kind of like additional shrine on top of the main shrine. And that thing was ancient, oh my god. They had clearly repainted like the main shrine building somewhat recently, but the torii gates, like the red fancy gates, had not been touched in like at least 30 years. Like they were rotting at the bottom, and I was like, is this safe enough for me to walk past? It was just so sad because it's got so much history. They have like a plaque dedicated to all the history too, but they're not doing anything with it. I just wish they did more, you know? They had a kids' playground on the side of the shrine, which is good because a lot of shrines are actually doing this in the current day, but there aren't any kids in the town, so no one's there on the playground. But it's kind of sad, you know? Like, I think the one thing that really strikes me about a lot of Japan's more rural places is just the sense of quiet melancholy to it. There's all this history, there's all this amazing architecture, there's all this character, but there's no one there to really enjoy it. Like, you have old people who've been there their whole lives, but young people who are going to carry on the traditions of the future, there just aren't that many anymore. Like, even if you were born in this town, you're probably just going to leave for a big city at this first chance you get, and I don't blame you. Like, I wouldn't blame anyone for leaving their hometown because there's no opportunities there anymore. It's an endless death trap spiral of loss, and there isn't a way around it, and it makes me feel really, really sad. That aside, that endless spiral is exactly why I think it's so important to visit the middle of nowhere in Japan, because if you support these tiny communities, you'll give them like a little bit of push to keep going for a little bit longer. And if a lot of people keep visiting these communities, they might be able to get some money and, you know, do some repairs to their shrines, you know, cut down the bamboo in the abandoned amusement park so people can go explore everything. Just your support would probably give the tiny town the push it needs to be better. And that's why I think it's really, really important that you go to tiny towns out of the way if you go to Japan, because it's an experience that you can't really get anywhere else, and I like it a lot, though I am also heavily biased. Anyways, right over. I made it just on time to catch the train, thankfully. I get on my seat. There are 2 other people on the train with me, the same people that were there when I came here, and yeah, I watched the scenery. The sun was very much out by this point, and it made the water like even more crystal clear and blue. It was so pretty. Like, I don't think words can state how stunning it was. These types of hidden gems are so often hidden in a place where no one else goes, and I really, really hope if you come to Japan, you'll take the time and you'll go to a place that's not often gone to. Nishikicho isn't unique. There's probably hundreds, if not thousands, of tiny Japanese towns with their own unique history, tucked away in the middle of nowhere. And if you can, and if you have the Japanese ability and confidence to do so, I would highly, highly encourage you to visit them. Because honestly speaking, in like 50 or so years, these towns probably aren't going to be there anymore. Like, there might be some houses, and that's pretty much it. So if you have the means to, please, please visit these towns while you can. That's all for today. See you guys next week.